Please take a check. Wait, room. Birthday. It's probably so. I know. I don't know why you could celebrate here. I hope you got it. Yes, so I'll. Meeting to order. You have an invitation?
Father, we love you again. We thank you for a beautiful day you've given us today to serve you, to live for you, and thank you for our city, our leaders, and everything that you're doing. We just ask you to bless this time together, protect all those that are serving for us. We love you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Are there any changes to the agenda? Okay. Or a motion to approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda.
Second. There's been a motion by Commissioner Hash, a second by Commissioner Wentz to approve the agenda. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Public comments. This is a time where citizens are encouraged to speak publicly. We request that you state your name and address, speak respectfully, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Well, I'm Nikki Reed with Cloud Corp, and I wanted to bring our new hire, Mackenzie Caldron, to meet all of you, as she will be my assistant with Cloud Corp and our Broadway Plaza manager. So wanted to bring her to introduce her to all of you. I know especially how important that it is to know Stacy and Amber, because there's a lot of communication. So finance director, that's Amber, so that she has a face with the names and the emails, and then Stacy, and then around the room, Chuck and Christy. And I'm totally,
Ashley.
thank you, because I knew that Ashley was the executive director at Cloud Corp
Oh, okay.
before Kim. Regina, and then you've met Marcia. And then our city manager, Amy, which she just introduced herself, and then Justin Farrell, he's the city attorney, so. Yep, and she's met Russell and Toby, and then it is pretty important to know a lot of these guys over here, especially Jeremy, our water guy. He helps us with the splash pad a lot, so Jeremy does, but, yep, anything you want to say about yourself, anybody, or?
Hello, it's nice to meet you all. Yeah, I grew up in Kansas. I moved to Nebraska. Now I'm back in Kansas and I'm happy about it. So, yeah, thank you.
And happy birthday to Chuck. And Ashley, my apologies, because you already know I know your name, but it just totally just.
It happens all the time.
So, thank you for your time tonight. And like I said, I just wanted to introduce you to Mackenzie, so.
Welcome. Nice to
Thank
meet
you.
Thanks for coming. Any other public comments? Yes.
My name is Edward Wall. I'm a Concordia resident, and I just wanted to give my thoughts on that. Why an ATV should be street legal with the rest of them. I got a few pamphlets I'd like to hand out, so you can look at them. And here's the ordinance of Ford Norton and Fairbury. I'm gonna give that to you.
Link search right now since you were handing stuff out.
Okay. Start out with on my ATV. It is on the second page there. There's this one here. And the pros on it is it's 4 wheels. It has 4-wheel drive for the inclement water that or weather that is stable on gravel roads and paved roads with gravel or grass on them. Has 3 headlights, one that turns with the steering, brake and tail lights, mirrors, seats for 2, speedometer and gas gauges, power steering, front and rear brakes. Brakes have both hand and foot levers, luggage inside and rack outside. Will run the speed limit up to around 45 miles an hour. And this vehicle does not have any blind spots. which is the other one, like this one here has blind spots. And golf cart has blind spots, no seatbelt. And then you have motorcycles and mopeds, which is two wheels. That's very dangerous on gravel roads or gravel on top of hard surfaces. So I think the ATV is a lot more stable and worthwhile of you guys thinking about having on street legal. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much.
We'll move on to proclamations and recognitions. We have Denise Rushford Reynolds, the Farewell is Library.
Good evening. Well, it is a pleasure to be here this evening. A mixed blessing, I think, in some respects. In 1983, when I came to the library, Carl Metzger was the city manager and Greg Hatton was the mayor. And I have met lots of wonderful city managers and mayors over the years. This is not a walk down memory lane. I'm here to thank you. Your constant support of the Frank Carlson Library during the entire time that I've been the library director has been just a source of inspiration and pleasure to me. Commissioners, I want to thank you for your service to the community. Almost all of you have been ex officio members of the library board, and some of you have served as library trustees before you were elected to the commission. Your faithful attendance at library board meetings and your excellent advice have been very much appreciated. And if I do have a regret, it's because I'm not going to have the opportunity to work with you each other. The City Commission has made our public library to make sure that our public library has been adequately funded. And in those years when our budget request has not been fully funded, there's always been a good reason for that. And it's never been because you don't value the role of the Frank Carlson Library in our community. The City Commission has also appointed wonderful people to the library board. These trustees provide guidance to me and to the library staff, and they represent a cross section of our town. I think that's so important. We have people who are retired, we have self-employed people, people with young families, people with grandchildren, self-employed people, but all of them put in hours of work to make sure our library is offering the best service possible to our community. And I've served with many city managers over the years. Each one has their own style, and each one has supported the library in their own way. And I appreciate everything that those city managers have done for us. Our city attorneys.
Somebody's gonna say something nice about it.
Well, our city attorneys have helped us over the years to craft our policies to make sure they're fair and reasonable. They've advised me and the board on a variety of issues, and I know you have put in a lot of hours helping with some problems that we've had. You know, attorneys don't usually receive a lot of praise, but I want to say thank you, not just to you, but to all who have served as city attorneys, because I had to consult everyone to keep me out of trouble. I'd also like to thank the many city employees who have assisted the library over the years. I mean, in over 3 decades, we've tackled all kinds of projects, including a fire alarm upgrade. You've helped with building codes. You've helped with things like helping us organize outreach to the Parks and Recreation Department. And whoever does the snow removal, thank you from the bottom of my heart. That's been such a wonderful thing that the City Commission and the city manager have done for us. So, friends, it's been fun. Well, maybe not having to present the budget request, but I can't honestly say I'm going to miss that aspect of the job. But I am going to miss being able to come and visit with you, seeing you at monthly meetings. Ashley, it's just been wonderful, but all of you who have put in the time and have advised me personally and have advised the board, I can't thank you enough. It's been a pleasure to serve as the director of the Frank Carlson Library since 1983. That is a lifetime. And I have mixed feelings about my retirement, but not about this aspect of the retirement. Ladies and gentlemen, it is just a sincere pleasure to make sure that you understand that the library board has hired an excellent person to lead the library in the future. So I'm asking you to please come to the library Saturday afternoon, 1 to 3. There's a reception where you can welcome our new library director, and you can also say goodbye to Alice Bashing and me as we retire. So again, thank you. I wish you all the very best and happy reading.
Thank you, Denise, for everything that you've done. And we will miss many things about you, but the thing I think I'll miss the most is hearing you on the radio, giving us recommendations, which I swiftly will write down. And I have very much appreciated that over the years.
That radio show isn't going to stop. I think we're going to continue those reports. So it'll just be a different voice.
Okay.
It's kind of like Garrison Keeler's voice, though. I mean, definitely, don't always hear exactly, and sometimes it's hard to dial in. Just a soothing presence is pleasant.
Okay, we will move on to our action agenda, the minutes of the August 3rd, 2022 meeting.
Second.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Belden, a second by Commissioner Hash to approve the minutes of the August 3rd, 2022 meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Appropriation ordinance number 15.
I move to approve appropriation ordinance number 15.
There's been a motion by Commissioner Wentz, a second by Commissioner Belden to approve appropriation ordinance number 15. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Housing solutions and authorizations to proceed.
Commissioners, Vicki and I are tag teaming this, just so you know
Yeah, sorry. Trying to figure out how to work this thing still.
that. You're fine. As you heard from Five Rural Planning on August 3rd, we have some needs for housing. And I think that Bobby Pettit did a great job coming through and talking about what those needs were. And what we focused in on was the need, we have a gap in moderate income housing. So those homes that are valued between $100,000 and $200,000. And I think that we talked a little bit about pre-COVID pricing. So we know that some of the materials and supplies for construction have gone through the roof over in recent years. So we're talking about that appraised value of the home, not the current market value of what homes would be. We're talking about targeting moderate incomes, which here in Concordia, we know that our median income is about $64,100. That is a household income for an entire year. That is actually across Cobb County, not just Concordia proper. We're looking at Concordia proper for housing solutions, but we can't drill down that far in income. When we look at some of the federal standards for what moderate income guidelines are, they take a range that would be 50% of that median income up to 150% of that median income. So we might look at ranges anywhere from 50,000 for a household income clear up to 120, almost 130,000 in median income, are the in household income ranges that we're looking at. So looking at all of the needs that we looked at vacancy rate, we looked at an absorption rate, which we kind of learned a little bit about what absorption rate was, and that was the number, it's a ratio. The numerator is the number of homes sold, the denominator is the number of homes available for sale within a geographic region within a specific time period. So what we found interesting about that, visiting with some realtors and looking at some of those sales, we found that absorption rate for Concordia for the month of July was 15%. Now that's significant because 15% is typically considered a threshold between a buyer's and a seller's market. It's a buyer's market if it's 15% or above, sellers if it's 15% or below. Then if you hit the threshold of 20%, that's usually the signal to builders that they should build in your community. Well, talking with some of our realtor friends, we said, if you had 10 more homes in Concordia available for sale, could you sell 5 of those homes? The answer was, well, yes. Well, then our absorption rate would come up to 22, 23%. Could you sell all 10? Very possibly. Well, then that absorption rate becomes up to 30%. So commissioners, I'm telling you this because even though the data would show that our absorption rate is 15%, we're only selling 6 out of 40 homes that are available in Concordia in the month of July. I think that absorption rate could be quite a bit higher if we had more homes available to sell. And so that's kind of what we're here to talk with you tonight. You have a flyer in front of you that gives a summary of those findings from the housing study. And it also talks about some solutions, gives a quote from the Kansas Housing Resource Commission too, that talks about the need for homes and kind of what we would consider affordable housing there. What Nikki and I would like to do is to request your permission this evening to proceed with visiting with property owners about potentially donating their land to the Concordia Land Bank for the purposes of subdivision development for moderate income homes. Additionally, we would like your permission to go ahead and proceed with securing funding to be able to build the infrastructure to build those homes. The reason that's important is because we've talked a lot about the infusion of housing resources at the state level. The state has infused 62 million over the course of the next several years for housing resources. One of those resources is the Moderate Income Housing Grant, and that grant application is due on September 30th. In order to compete for the grant, there's certain check marks on the boxes, the list of things that we have to have done. And several of those are listed in your memo. We have to show, prove that we have site control or control of the site, which would be an agreement to sell or some kind of a development agreement at minimum, if not an actual deed showing that we would own that property. We would also need to have proper zoning or a zoning application in play. We would need to have a sketch plan of what a subdivision would look like, proof of funding sources, a narrative demonstrating need, developer identified, showing kind of a cash flow analysis to show that the feasibility of the project would work. And then checking the box, one check mark, one thing that we can do to help elevate our chances of competing for this grant is to establish a rural housing incentive district. Rural housing incentive district is like a TIF district for housing. So we would take the incremental value of building a new home on a piece of land and the property taxes generated from the increment of building the house, the difference between the vacant land and the house, would go to repay the bonds for the infrastructure for a short period of time. And then once that district expires, once those bonds are repaid, then the property taxes for building that home would be distributed to the taxing entities as they are today. So the state is looking favorably upon combining or layering the moderate income housing grant with a rural housing incentive district.
That's a quick question, Amy.
Yes, ma'am.
How long can an RHID be in place? Is it however long, or 10, 15 years?
The maximum is 25 years, and what we're going to propose is 15 years if we can make the math work. So
Okay.
we believe that it'll work for 15, but that's what we're looking at. Another option that we're looking at, and we've seen some interest of private developers to infill some vacant lots in town. So you know that we've been very aggressive with tearing down homes for the last decade or so. We've actually torn down 10 times as many homes as what we've built. So it's important to put those structures back into play. So if we can incentivize developers to build homes on existing lots with existing infrastructure, and homeowners are interested in those homes, we think that that is one faster way to get new homes back on the market. If we choose to do a subdivision, it's probably going to take about a year from design and construction of infrastructure until we have a buildable lot ready to put a home on it. But our existing vacant lots in our established neighborhoods are ready to go with that infrastructure right now, so we can get those homes online sooner. Another factor to consider that we're not ready to focus on immediately, just because we're trying to prioritize needs and we're looking at the deadline of that moderate income housing grant. But another option is to pattern a program after what the city of Norton does, which they incentivize homes that are currently sitting vacant. They incentivize those owners to sell those homes put those back into service. If you'll recall, Bobby Pettit with 5 Rural, we talked about our vacancy rate, and our vacancy rate is listed at 8.73. Recall that she said that 2% of those homes in Concordia were available for sale or rent, where standard is 7% vacancy rate, assuming that all those homes are available for rent. Of our 8.73, 6% of those homes are sitting idle. They haven't had utilities turned on in the last 6 months. They may be sitting with a family with a recently passed loved one that they've not yet decided what to do with the home. It might be sitting in probate court. It might be purchased by somebody who maybe recently got married and they're combining households and chose to live in a different house and they're just waiting to sell for some reason. It might be under ownership of a family and it's being used for storage, for example, but that's 6% of our housing stock is idle right now. And then the other 0.73% is the unsafe and dangerous structures that we need to continue to work at getting taken down. And the reason I would promote or encourage continued funding of our demolition program and getting rid of the unsafe and dangerous structures, even though we have a housing shortage, is because those structures are unsafe and dangerous, which means they're not fit for any family to live in. And so we want to make sure that through these programs, through incentives, through our solution seeking, we're finding homes that are safe and habitable for any resident that chooses to live here in Concordia. Let's transition, give Vicki an opportunity to kind of explain benefits of Cloud Court partnership with the city on this.
Well, we did. I know that Kim and Amy had activated our community resource committee last year. And we knew the importance of it then. And I had told Amy in conversation, I thought it was amazing the timing of our housing study coming out with this moderate income housing. I said, what a great job that Kim and Amy did by taking charge and getting this housing study going. In order to get this, because that housing study is going to be able to be used in our moderate income housing grant application, which is exciting. So we activated this and we met, we pulled a group together on August 10th, and that group consisted of realtor, some developers. We had our appraiser, county appraiser there, title company represented, commission, city commission represented, Cloud Corp was represented, a banker, a lawyer, and then we also have our hometown lumberyard representative, just to have an idea. And they were all in favor and supportive of the plan that Amy did a very nice job presenting to them. And they thought that they recommended that we should go forward. We know, number one, that housing, it is directly related with bringing in new businesses. Also just serving our community members and giving them an opportunity to move up into a nicer house if they have the funds and they want to move up, and then that opens up another house. So you have a domino effect that's going to take place. We also know that we have seen, even just since I've been in position, a company wanting to come, needing 5 homes right away. We don't have 5 homes that they're really interested in. So we know that having housing availability, and I know all of you are aware of that as well, there's possibilities that it's going to open up if we can get some of these developments going. Anything you can think of with the Community Resource Committee?
Just that we appreciate everybody's partnership. I know Regina and Marcia are serving on that committee for us, so we do have city's interest represented as well there. So we appreciate that. I would say that I feel like we're very poised very well to make a very competitive application on this moderate income housing grant. It allows a community to receive up to or be awarded up to $650,000 for projects that they list as priorities. Tonight, I would propose that we submit this application with 2 priorities. One priority being establishing a subdivision and building new homes there. And those may they may be single family homes. They might also be a duplex or a townhome that could be used on a couple of different options. It could be used maybe for the seniors who decided they're ready to downsize their home. A larger family may get better benefit out of the home that they have. Maybe they want to downsize, maybe they want to get into a rental and maybe get out of the business of taking care of their own lawn or snow removal. Or that duplex townhome may be attractive to a young professional who is moving here just out of college, starting out their first nursing job or their first teaching job here in the community. They're not yet ready to buy. They want to see if they're like the community, if it's a good fit for them. But they may be used to the rentals that are available in Lawrence, Wichita, Manhattan, Kansas City. And right now, we know from our housing study and from talking with our realtors that that level of rental is very difficult to find in Concordia. So we can see those townhomes or duplexes serving that need and still falling in that moderate income category. We can also see the single family homes falling in that category. So that would be one priority within our moderate income housing grant application. The other priority would be to use some of those funds to help incentivize that vacant infill lot that we talked about, that we already have some interest in from a private developer right now that we believe we can turn fairly quickly. So that's what we would be looking at tonight. So happy to answer, I guess. The final thing.
I have a question on the rural housing, this RHID. Those taxes, you have to have the approval of the school boards, the community college.
No, the school board, the USD, and the county have veto power. The community colleges are not listed with veto power. So we can say that we want to go forward with it. And I would propose that we would come forward and present to them at a meeting and explain what we are doing before the actual vote. They'd have to do a resolution, but they could veto it and they could block it in that sense.
But it really, if it's in the city, it's not gonna affect the county taxes.
Yeah.
It will. It's like, we'd have to do like an interlocal agreement, and I'd suggest
Yeah.
involving the college in it too, because it
Well-
does hit them, even though they don't have veto power. But yeah, you would just get an interlocal together and they'd all have to kind of sign
I
on.
knew that with the tip, we did that, but I assumed because it wouldn't, why would they change what the county gets from tax?
It takes those taxes, it takes those county taxes and applies it towards.
All increase in tax revenue goes to pay the bond. So
Yeah,
if we were to build it outside of the rural housing incentive district, then the county would receive that money.
yeah,
So they're nowhere farther ahead if nothing happens, but if there is
Right.
action, then they're going to be foregoing that increase for the period of time. I think I still am an advocate for the TIF district and would be for this, because it does help spur
Yeah.
growth and it is a good investment, a way for a community to invest in itself. It delays that revenue coming immediately to those agencies or entities, but something from nothing is nothing.
yeah.
So
It's a good, I mean, I agree. I thought tip was a good thing, so.
but I think it'd be good to have them on board proactively.
And it's a marathon, not a sprint. RHID is one tool in our toolbox. If we choose that that's not the route that we want to go, then the homes would qualify for neighborhood revitalization, which covers most of the county. If we set the RHID in place, those homes would not qualify for neighborhood revitalization because that's a tax rebate. So if you get a tax rebate, then you don't have the money to repay the bonds, and that's why. If we choose to not do the RHID and the homeowners are eligible for neighborhood revitalization, we would need to assess special assessments in order to recover the investment in the infrastructure. So there's trade-offs to both types of incentives, and it's just taking a look at what would be good options for us.
So in the grant application, do we have to have that half identified, or can we identify that we have these options available to us?
We have to have at least passed a resolution to start the process to establish an RHID if we're going to check that box. So that's something that we'll need to decide here very soon. The
So
other
it'd be a
thing,
nice combination of both with the RHC for certain areas of larger skill development and neighborhood revitalization for those pockets.
yes, yeah, that could be an option too. So yeah, your infill development could take advantage of neighborhood revitalization. And the rural housing incentive district could be set up for the new subdivision, and then those homeowners would not have special assessments for their new homes, which is a great benefit for a brand new subdivision. Typically, special assessments are on the rolls for 20 years. So that's something good. I do appreciate the commission as we work through budget process. If you'll recall, we did include $1.5 million of potential debt service to put toward a housing subdivision. And we were able to do that without raising our local mill levy. So for everyone listening here in the community, we would not have to raise property taxes, and we could still have the ability to invest up to $1.5 million in housing infrastructure to help address this need as one part of the solution. Last comment on the moderate income housing grant, we can use that to help out with infrastructure. So maybe we wouldn't have to issue as much debt for the housing infrastructure, which would be great. but we do have to use a portion of that toward vertical construction. So that's the piece that we're still trying to figure out what's the best application of those monies. And then for the homeowner on the backside, let's say we fast forward a couple of years, we get a home built, somebody's ready to buy it. If we have used that moderate income money on that home, that homeowner will have to prove that they fit the income guidelines. They'll have to commit to living there for 5 years, or if they choose to sell the home before the 5 years, they'll have to repay a prorated share of the money of the moderate income home grant money that was used toward their development. So there are a set of checks and balances on both sides. We also have to ensure that the homes that we build are ADA accessible and that they meet certain energy standards as well. So those are some things that we also have to work through in the design of those homes. So I guess, again, tonight, any other questions that we can answer for you at this point in time?
This whole order, so tip my hat, there's gonna be a lot of work in the next month, so it's gonna be very intensive.
So our first step is to, we talked to the Community Resources Committee, we identified some properties, and now we need to be able to go visit with those property owners. Obviously need to visit with them, keep that part confidential until such time as we're able to acquire that. And we're looking at hopefully partnering with those property owners and convincing them that it would be a great investment in the community to partner as part of the solution and donate that property to the Concordia Land Bank in the meantime. So that's kind of our intent. Questions?
I would make a motion to authorize city staff to proceed with conversations with property owners for various property acquisition requests and proceed with preparations necessary to secure funding for subdivision infrastructure development, including the NIH grant application.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor by Commissioner Lambert, a second by Commissioner Hash. Is there any further discussion? And then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of Broadway Plaza video screen repairs.
If you remember, back in April, we had a pretty sizable hailstorm, and fortunately, the only damage that we found was on the plaza screen, since it faced to the east. And all this summer, there's been little bulbs out. Kind of had to look for it. You really didn't notice. If you went to the movie the other night, you noticed a big square right in the middle. And so one of the modules has gone completely out. And Nikki has been working with Apple One to get an estimate, and she just finally got it last week. So they've been really busy and had some issues too, and had trouble even getting prices. So we have it now. It's a little bit over what the city manager could approve, but we also will be turning it in. Well, it is turned into insurance, and then we'll get everything but the $2,500 deductible. So the cost for repairing is $10,692. Yeah, anything to add?
No, you covered it perfectly, because basically, you know, each individual module has to be replaced. And that's why it's a complete total of the screen, as you just explained it. The hard part was being in contact with Daktronics, which was what Brian with Apple One. That's why it took so long, because there was just so much storm damage throughout. And getting Daktronics to actually give us a quote on that and get that back. We kept calling and you did a good job to keep saying anything. I'm like, no. So
I move to approve the repairs of the Broadway Plaza video screen from Apple One Media for $10,692.
Motion by Commissioner Wentz, a second by Commissioner Belden to approve the repairs to the Broadway Plaza video screen from Apple One Media for $10,692. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Managers report.
Mayor and Commissioners met yesterday in Topeka with the League of Kansas Municipalities and got to facilitate the public officers and employees policy committee. Each year, the league puts together policy committees, and different managers and council members from across the state gather together to talk about different segments of the statement of municipal policy. Each of the statements helps to guide our lobbyists in what they need to advocate for betterment of cities during the next legislative session. So we were able to visit about those. Notably, we discussed some possible work to get some changes to a policy related to ambulance attendants that could greatly help us out to be able to provide a better level of patient care for our transfers in particular. And then we also talked about the impacts of requiring the CDL and the new federal rules that are now implemented for employees that have to have a CDL, especially as it relates to municipalities and the impact of cities on that. So doing some work there with that committee. We'll go back again on August 31st for all the policy committees together to look at everything one more time. And then it'll be finalized at the annual conference in October. Rick Simpson couldn't be here tonight, but he wanted me to share the 9/11 Tribute Heroes Weekend, September 9th through 11th. That'll be happening out at the fairgrounds. There'll be activities. Friday, they'll do a concert to Sunset Center. Saturday, they'll have a ceremony with Brian Cleveland at 11. If you'll recall, Brian was the one that organized the tribute last year at City Park on 9/11. Cornhole tournament and a band Saturday night. And then on Sunday evening, there will also be a special heroes race as well at the racetrack. So just want to let you know that that's happening. They did ask for sponsorships, and this morning the department heads and we decided to go ahead and sponsor at a bronze level. So we are going to be helping them out there. That's all that I have. Any questions?
Okay, staff reports. Mayor Commissioner reports.
Just want to thank Amy for all that she does with the housing study and everything. It's a lot, and she just handles it with class and grace. Thank you.
The new parking lot looks like it's ready to go. If we can just get that lighting installed. Do we know anything more about that?
We're just waiting on the stone caps. Those were a long wait supply, and then the light poles, we don't anticipate them till sometime probably around mid-September. So we wanted to wait. I can't remember how long. Ken said we really needed to let that concrete wait before we allowed traffic on it. We wanted to wait as long as possible to see if we might be able to get those stone caps and possibly get the light poles early too. But we're both working toward the goal that even if the light poles are not there yet, we want to be able to open it up for use on Fall Fest. I think we're still going to meet that target, which is
It'll
great.
be very convenient, I think.
Shirley Briggs.
Yeah, I just I wanted to take a moment and thank fellow commissioners that I currently serve with, as well as those that I've served with in the past, for managing ourselves in a respectful and professional manner. I think it really reflects well on our city that this governing body serves with the professionalism that this position warrants. I would further invite and go so far as to challenge other governing bodies in our community, and I guess everywhere else, honestly, to hold themselves accountable, as well as their fellow members who were chosen to lead this community and to serve in the capacity with the high standards of respect and professionalism that our citizens deserve. So, thank you all.
Thank you. I had two things. One, were we spraying mosquitoes this morning, and why is there a reason we're doing it in the morning and not at night?
Early on, for the past month and a half when we started, it was just so hot and dry in the nights. And every year, Aaron and some of the guys go down and get the fogger calibrated in Salina, I believe. And it's a little seminar / calibrate everybody's machine. They actually recommend the morning to be more effective. So, yeah, and I heard you got a call from the guy that called me this morning.
Okay. So I want to make sure.
That's why that all those seminars that actually recommend the mornings as being more effective. We will transition back to the evenings. Now that's not as hot.
Okay.
But the heat and the dry.
I'll
we have to
follow
go
up
to like
with a
12 or
similar
1 in the
message.
morning and stuff. So
Thank you.
Gives a better shot against the skeeters, right?
And I guess the last thing, I'm very inspired that we are going to be embarking on the first city development in decades. And I hope that all of our governing entities can see the long range benefits that this will have for everyone, every taxing entity who participates. It's going to be great, and it's going to be the thing that gets our community to grow. If we don't have places for people to live, we don't have employees for our businesses. So I'm very excited. So thank you. And I know it's going to be a tough month. So sending you here back to the best.
That's fine. I've got great support.
Okay.
I'm looking great.
Everything's fine.
No worries for a person who indeed has a great many worries.
Yeah. That's right. So thank you. And I'd be looking for a motion to adjourn.
I so move. Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Lambert, a second by Commissioner Hash. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes.